In a world obsessed with nonstop communication, oversharing, and performative vulnerability, we've overlooked one of the most underrated and powerful tools in human behavior: deliberate silence. While the masses are busy revealing their goals, sharing their every thought, and unveiling their strategies, the truly shrewd individual understands the tactical power of restraint and knows exactly when to remain silent. Niccolò Machiavelli, the 16th century political thinker and Florentine strategist, grasped this truth more deeply than most. Although widely known for his direct counsel in The Prince, some of his most profound insights lie not in what he advised rulers to say, but in what they should withhold. "The vulgar crowd is always taken with appearances," he wrote, highlighting how words shape perception, while silence protects reality. In today's era of compulsive transparency, those who skillfully wield silence don't just protect themselves from exposure. They accomplish what chatterers never can. They succeed while others are still explaining their plans. The price of needless talk. Machiavelli lived in a time when a poorly chosen word could result in exile or death. But even today, where the stakes might be lower, loose talk remains a dangerous habit. As he observed, men in general judge more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see, but few can feel. The person who constantly talks allows everyone to see and judge them, but reveals little of real substance. Every spoken word can carry invisible costs. First, words form expectations. When you speak your intentions aloud, you confine yourself to them in the eyes of others. Change course later, and you may be seen as unreliable. Remaining quiet leaves you agile, able to pivot without needing to explain or apologize. Second, speech can unintentionally expose your thought process. The more you speak, the more you show how you think. Data others can exploit to predict, outmaneuver, or manipulate you. As Machiavelli noted, one way to assess the intellect of a ruler is to observe the caliber of their advisors. Similarly, a person's strategic ability is often revealed by how much of their inner thinking they let slip. Third, and maybe most crucially, non-stop talking erodes your mystique and diminishes your presence. "It is far safer to be feared than loved," Machiavelli famously advised. Fear requires distance, and distance is preserved through selective silence. The person who constantly explains and defends themselves becomes ordinary. Ordinary people struggle to command extraordinary respect. Silence in the modern world. You can see the impact of excessive speech everywhere. The co-worker who talks in every meeting soon becomes background noise. The friend who posts every detail of their life becomes predictable rather than intriguing. The negotiator who fills quiet moments with nervous chatter loses leverage. The leader who responds to every criticism legitimizes detractors and undermines their own status. Machiavelli would likely view our culture of radical openness not as a virtue, but as a strategic failure. It hands others power through information, often without receiving anything of value in return. The three faces of strategic silence. Machiavellian silence isn't mere quietude. It's calculated restraint, tailored to different aims. There are three main forms of this disciplined silence. 1. Silence as a tool for gathering intelligence. "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally," Machiavelli wrote. The foolish rush to speak, revealing everything while learning nothing. The wise stay silent, letting others disclose their intentions first. This silence creates a lopsided informational advantage. In negotiations, this plays out as the principle: whoever speaks first loses. In personal relationships, the listener often understands the deeper dynamics better than the one who won't stop talking. In competition, announcing your strategy ahead of time only ensures you will be countered. 2. Silence that builds authority. Machiavelli knew that power often hinges on perception, and sometimes saying less enhances that perception. "A prince must be both fox and lion," he wrote, and the fox understands when silence boosts authority. People naturally fill silence with their own assumptions, usually favoring the one who speaks less. Leaders who reserve their words for important matters command greater influence. Those who address only essential criticisms appear confident. That's why seasoned leaders speak with brevity and clarity, while juniors often overtalk. Power is felt in the restraint. Brief statements, not lengthy justifications. Selective responses, not knee-jerk reactions. 3. Silence that preserves ambiguity. It is safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both, Machiavelli advised. But this lesson extends to any situation in which leaving your position open allows others to interpret it however they want. Ambiguous silence allows you to appeal to multiple audiences with different expectations. It lets you act without being boxed in. It keeps people guessing. Politicians exploit this with vague statements. Skilled negotiators avoid taking rigid positions. Effective leaders state visions without over-defining how they'll get there. This form of silence isn't dishonest. It's strategic flexibility. The mind games of silence. Beyond strategy, silence has deep psychological impact. It does things speech can't. 1. Silence invites projection. Humans hate informational gaps. They rush to fill them with their own hopes, fears, and assumptions. When you remain silent, others expose themselves by projecting their internal narrative onto you. It's why interrogators often use silence, not questions, to extract information. The pressure to fill the void leads people to reveal more than they intended. 2. Silence establishes dominance. Talking too much signals that you're seeking approval. Speaking less positions you as the evaluator, not the one needing validation. In Machiavelli's terms, it's the difference between being the judged and the judge. The silent individual becomes the mystery, and people respect what they don't fully understand. That's why quiet participants in meetings are often taken more seriously. Why job applicants who ask thoughtful questions stand out. Why calm silence during conflict often wins more ground than emotional argument. 3. Silence builds mystique. Men judge more by the eye than the hand, Machiavelli noted. What's visible gets judged, but what remains hidden often appears more powerful. Reveal everything, and you seem ordinary. Say less, and people imagine you to be more. Leaders who keep part of their thinking private project authority. Those who overshare reduce their perceived edge. This isn't about lying, it's about managing impressions. Leaders who reveal only their decisions, not every thought leading up to them, retain more influence. The trap of modern transparency. Today's culture sees silence as suspicious and transparency as virtuous. We're told to be authentic, to share everything, to speak our truth. But as Machiavelli warned, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. When we share everything, we tether ourselves to past declarations. We sacrifice future flexibility for the illusion of current honesty. Strategic silence offers another way. Not deception, but discretion. Share what serves your goals. Hold back what doesn't. In the workplace, the transparency trap shows up in oversharing early drafts, voicing undeveloped ideas, or prematurely revealing negotiating stances. In relationships, it appears as emotional oversharing or over-explaining plans not yet settled. Machiavelli would call these not acts of vulnerability, but strategic errors. They make you easier to read, easier to predict, and easier to undermine. Applying Machiavellian silence. So how do you use silence with intent? 1. Prioritize listening over speaking. Before offering your stance, gather others. Ask more questions. Focus on what's left unsaid. As Machiavelli advised, the fox must recognize traps before he can avoid them. This is key in negotiations and team dynamics. Know the landscape before you move. 2. Maintain strategic ambiguity. Don't commit too quickly. Keep your options open. Speak to direction and values, but stay flexible on details. This makes you less predictable and more adaptable. 3. Lean into the power of silence. Train yourself not to rush into speech. When someone finishes talking, pause. When criticized, listen completely. When negotiating, state your position, then wait. This patience creates tension, and tension often yields results. The art of the strategic whisper. Machiavellian silence isn't about muteness, it's about precision. Say only what furthers your aim. Let silence do the rest. The vulgar crowd is always taken by appearances, Machiavelli wrote. In a world where most people over-explain and overshare, the one who chooses their words carefully stands apart. Their voice holds more weight. their mystery becomes magnetism. Mastering this art takes patience. It takes awareness. It takes the confidence to resist the urge to fill the void. And those who do, they don't just talk about winning, they shut up and win. If this message stirred something within you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Someone else might be walking the same silent path, waiting for a sign that they're not alone. Stay grounded, stay thoughtful, stay awake. For more deep dives into philosophy, the human experience, and timeless truths, subscribe and turn on the bell. Wander the void with wonder. Question deeply. Think freely. Until next time, embrace the silence and let it speak.